Hi, it's April checking in. I wanted to talk a few minutes about how people perceive you if you are a person of God and or a minister. First, I want to say that after receiving the call to be a minister, there were various things that I had to go through to actually get from feeling called to being ordained and all that type of thing. Most of the problem was myself, I do believe. The problems that I had was that I thought, according to my previous teachings and according to my belief systems, that you could be in sin and still serve God. And I used excuses like, well, David was a sinner, and then without looking at what David had to go through, he went through hell trying to do things that went against God's will for him. And he had to pay for it, and his descendants had to pay for his sin for years to come. So I don't think that I should have looked at it from just one perspective, that David sinned and he was still a man after God's own heart. But there's also consequences for the sin. There's consequences for doing things that are outside the will of God, to the point where he specifically said, don't do those things. The things that are in the 10 Commandments will still apply forever and ever. Not one part of what he said will become not what he said. He said what he said. Okay? The 10 Commandments will stand. If you break them, you will get hurt in some unknown type of way. It could manifest in so many different ways, which is what's scary. And the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, right? So yeah, I'm thinking that when I wrapped my head around that, okay, that in order to serve God, you have to not be in active sin. Then you would have to decide what sin is. And I think that that is where people's belief systems depart from each other. But my point is, I was talking with other acquaintances of mine, right? And those acquaintances had taken issue with a minister doing anything like joking too much or having a glass of wine, and they felt very judgmental about any of that happening. Okay? And then I realized that what they were trying to do in a roundabout way is partially correct, which is holding people who are supposed to be in leadership to a higher standard, than lay people. Okay? You're held to a higher standard rightfully. That makes sense. Like, how can you uphold the law if you break the law? Right? Nevertheless, there has always been a certain amount of grace. See, this is what we don't fully understand. I don't think any of us fully understand how God's grace interacts with God's insistence that we obey his law and commands, because they weave in and out of each other, and he judges as he sees fit, and not every situation turns out the same way. Okay? I think the point is having a desire in your heart to do right and having the intention of being righteous goes a long way. God says, I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy. You can't decide when he's going to have mercy on somebody, but that is why we need to really try to do right. And what I'm thinking is that in some cases you may be like Moses, who in a fit of anger struck the rock when he was not told to strike the rock. He was angry. And because of that, he was not allowed to go into the promised land. He died on that mountain. There were consequences to him not obeying God in that instance. That's not in the Ten Commandments, right? It was a directive from the Most High God. This is what I want you to do. He did the opposite and never got to see the promised land. Okay, it could happen that way. It also could happen where you receive grace and you're able to move forward with no problem after some consequences, of course. What do you think? Okay, I think that's all I had to say right now. I will talk to you guys later. All right, bye.